1922, deep in the Egyptian desert, a small team of excavators chipped away at rubble in the Valley of the Kings, searching for a tomb that many believed did not exist. Their leader, British archaeologist Howard Carter, had spent years digging with little to show for it. Funding was running out, and his patron was growing impatient. Then, one day, they uncovered a set of hidden steps descending into the rock. The workmen cleared sand and stones until the outline of a sealed doorway emerged. On the plastered entrance, Carter saw royal seals still intact. They belonged to a relatively unknown pharaoh, Tutankhamun, a teenage king who had ruled more than 3,000 years earlier. Carter sent word to his patron, Lord Carnarvon, in England. Together, they planned to open the tomb, hoping it would be the greatest archaeological discovery of their age. When they finally cut through the final seal and peered inside by candlelight, Carter saw glittering objects piled to the ceiling. Behind them lay the unopened burial chamber. The find electrified the world. Newspapers splashed headlines about the forgotten boy king whose tomb had somehow escaped the looters who emptied so many other royal graves. Inside, they found chariots, statues, jewelry, weapons, and shrines. Unlike other tombs, Tutankhamun's resting place was almost fully intact. A time capsule of royal life and death. At the center of the burial chamber was a stone sarcophagus. Inside nested coffins of wood and gold, and within them, the famous golden mask covering the mummy's face. For Egyptology, this was a miracle. The most complete new kingdom royal burial ever discovered. For the public, it was a story of treasure, mystery, and ancient kings. But soon, another story began to grow. In 1923, not long after the tomb's opening, Lord Carnarvon fell ill in Cairo after a mosquito bite, became infected. His death captured public imagination. A wealthy patron disturbs an ancient pharaoh's rest and dies. Mysteriously, this was the kind of narrative newspapers could not resist. Some reports claimed the lights in Cairo went out at the moment he died. Others said his favorite dog howled and collapsed back in England at the same time. Journalists began to whisper about an ancient curse, supernatural punishment for those who dared to break into the tomb of a king meant to sleep undisturbed for eternity. They quoted dark lines, supposedly from the tomb. Death shall come on swift wings to him who disturbs the king's peace. It sounded perfect for a curse, but no such inscription was actually found inside Tutankhamun's tomb. The line seems to have been invented or pulled from a completely different object and then attached to the story. Still, the idea spread quickly. With each illness, accident, or death, connected even loosely to the excavation, the legend of the curse grew stronger in the public mind. Several people involved in the discovery died over the following years, for reasons ranging from infections to heart problems. Each case became another brick in the myth. Howard Carter himself, however, lived for more than a decade after the discovery, dying quietly in London at the age of 64 from Hodgkin's lymphoma. Many others who entered the tomb also lived long lives, but their survival did not make good headlines, so their names rarely appeared in the dramatic stories about the curse. In truth, the early 20th century was a dangerous time for any kind of travel and work in Egypt. Infection, poor medical care, and harsh conditions were common causes of death. Some scientists later suggested more natural explanations. Could hidden spores, mold, or bacteria in the sealed tomb have caused respiratory problems for those who entered? Tests on artifacts and in similar tombs have found fungus and toxic molds, but no clear evidence shows a specific organism killing people from Tutankhamun's burial chamber. Even if ancient microorganisms played a role, that would still be ordinary biology, not a supernatural curse. Yet kill a mold was less exciting than Pharaoh's revenge. The idea of curses existed in ancient Egypt, but they looked very different from modern movie versions. Most inscriptions simply warned against grave robbers or asked the gods for protection. Some tomb texts threatened legal or divine punishment, but they were not chains of magical explosions triggered the instant a door was opened. They were moral and spiritual warnings. Egyptians believed that disturbing a tomb could harm the dead person's journey in the afterlife. Maintaining the body in offerings was a sacred duty, not a horror movie twist. What we call a curse was often more like a prayer for justice, that anyone who desecrated the tomb would be judged harshly by the gods or suffer misfortune. By the time Tutankhamun's tomb was opened, Western culture already carried a fascination with mummies, magic, and exotic ancient civilizations, shaped by decades of novels and stage shows. Victorian and early 20th century writers imagined Egypt as a land of secret rituals and deadly spells. These fantasies blended with real archaeology in the public essay, so when a real pharaoh's untouched tomb was found, the old stories of mummy curses and haunted sarcophagi rushed in to fill the gaps in public understanding. Film studios, publishers, and newspapers quickly realized they could sell more tickets and copies by emphasizing danger and mystery rather than careful scientific analysis. Humans are pattern-seeking creatures. When something shocking happens, we instinctively search for hidden connections, even when those connections are weak or purely coincidental. The death of a wealthy aristocrat after opening a pharaoh's tomb was exactly the kind of dramatic coincidence that our brains latch onto and refuse to let go. Newspapers and early radio competed for attention. A mysterious curse made far better headlines than a medical report about infection and poor health. Every strange illness, every accident, every unrelated death could be folded into the story, turning random misfortune into a single, thrilling narrative. Meanwhile, tourism to Egypt boomed. The image of a mysterious land filled with curses and hidden treasures drew visitors from Europe and America. Local guides, tour companies, and souvenir sellers soon realized that a whisper of danger and magic made every postcard, trinket, and ticket more exciting. The curse became part of Egypt's global image, a blend of real history, colonial fantasy, and modern marketing wrapped around a teenage pharaoh's tomb. In film and television, mummies were transformed into shambling monsters, turning complex ancient beliefs about the afterlife into simple horror tropes. Lost in the drama was the real Tutankhamun, a fragile young king whose brief life and carefully prepared burial were meant to secure peace, not revenge. His tomb was a message to the gods, not a trap for the living. The so-called curse says more about our fears than it does about ancient Egypt. When researchers calculated average lifespans of people involved in the excavation, they found no dramatic spike in early deaths compared with others of their time. Statistically, the so-called victims of the curse did not die unusually young. Many lived long lives, far beyond the drama suggested by newspaper headlines. To modern science, the curse looks less like a supernatural force and more like a mix of bad luck, dangerous working conditions, and sensational storytelling. Yet logic is not always what guides belief. A chilling story, told in the right way, can feel truer to us than dry statistics ever will. The Curse of Tutankhamun survives because it taps into something ancient in us. Fear of the unknown, respect for the dead, and guilt about disturbing what was meant to stay sealed. It also raises an uncomfortable question. What does it mean for one culture to dig up and display the sacred dead of another, thousands of years later? For some, the curse is a metaphor for disrespect and idea. But there is always a cost when graves become spectacles and ancestors become objects. For others, it is simply a thrilling story, a reminder that even in an age of science, we still hunger for mysteries that cannot be fully explained. In the end, the real power of the curse lies not in the tomb, but in our minds where imagination, fear, and wonder turn history into legend. If you enjoy exploring the line between history and myth, subscribe to Arcane, Curio, Chronicles, and join us as we unlock more secrets the ancient world left behind.